Hey, you found the music. Hey,
Hi, guys.
we had a couple technical difficulties, so we're tad late.
We're just a tad late. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another great show, hopefully, but we're probably going to go off the deep end because we're not on TikTok anymore, guys, and it's just me and Dan. Um,
Hey,
and,
hey, did you hear? But not to interrupt you, but did you hear TikTok might be sold?
ooh, no, I did not.
Oh yeah, they're close. They said as soon as possibly Friday. I
I'll
believe
believe
it.
it when I see it.
Yeah. So the word is some company, which they wouldn't name, and Trump said something too. But I didn't see what Trump said, so I have to be fair. But I did see a couple things on YouTube where they are talking. Somebody is buying it. They're working out the whole algorithm ownership. So who knows? I may come back on TikTok. We'll see.
We'll see. But today's topic is pretty much the same as last week's topic. We're talking about the outcome of all of this and how, well, I think what we should talk about is how um, he is being portrayed everywhere, and that is being used to silence him, just like men are silenced all over the
Just
place.
like they do to us.
Just like that. Well, he is a man, and he is talking about things that make the one side of the aisle more uncomfortable than the other side. And something that I have seen quite a bit of in the past week, which is unfortunately very sad, is that all these things they have habitually called him for years now, they didn't call him those things because he is those things. They called him those things so that they could justify violence against him, which resulted in his death. And that is exactly the same thing that they're doing to men specifically, and of women like myself who speak for men and boys, particularly this week, as I have received multiple threats.
You have. I got one. I got it. So I did a video Friday. I actually put it up on TikTok.
I saw.
Well, I got a death threat from it. Now it came through email, so I don't know which platform it came from, but it was so badly worded, so many misspellings. So I sent it to my buddy who works in a cybercrime unit in New York, and he's like, "Yeah, this is some kid trying to play a joke." And they are on it, because as I announced, I would get these things, and with one exception, I was like, yeah, whatever, right? I mean, not worried about them, not anymore. So
I have gotten several comments of mine have been I have been called violent. I have been called a threat to American women. I have been called un-American. I have been called things that I never thought that I would be called. I mean, I've been called all the things, the pick me, the gender traitor, all of that. But I've never been called un-American. I've never been called a violent extremist threat. I have never been told that I am a threat to American women and that I am advocating for violence against women. I mean, they practically accused me of holding women down so that other men could rape them. That's about what they accused me of. For words.
Surprised in the least. It's you're trying to keep within our topics, but we have to expand and go more general with it. I think that what you're seeing, and you've seen it with celebrities, you've seen it with people posting the videos, mocking and laughing about Kirk's death. I think they've snapped, like for real snapped, right? Because as much as this is a wake up call to the average person, forget the right. Everybody's talking about the right's woken up, not just the right. The middle has woken up.
I have seen so many moderate Democrats come out and say, I will never vote Democrat again. Now, they haven't said that they will vote Republican either, and that's fine.
They'll sit it out. That's very common.
They'll sit it out.
Yeah, they're already doing that stuff.
But the amount of vitriol, and then the people who are on the left, the average Democrat voter is not an extremist.
No, they're not.
And they are being called alt-right. And I'm like, you haven't seen alt-right. Charlie was moderate. You want to talk alt-right? You woke up Milo Yiannopoulos. He doesn't
Now
care.
he's all, yeah,
He's alt-right.
yeah, and
Um,
I have no love for him whatsoever.
no, I'm not particularly fond of him either. And
Like Tate's been making noises, and I'm like, no, Tate is not one of us, right? He's way out there. But I've noticed now. To be fair, I've been on Facebook a lot this past week. I've
so have
had
I.
to cut more than a few people I knew because I will not. I have zero tolerance. If you're going to mock someone for who was killed, you're gone.
Or my favorite, well, I say favorite, but I've unfriended several people as well that will sit there and say, well, at least now his wife is away from him. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself that as much as I love my husband, if someone were to take him from me, and yes, Steve, I did see Erica's speech. She's pissed.
I
She's angry and she's pissed.
I
I would
have
be too.
I have to say something about that since you brought it up. Um, I watched it not live, but like I don't know, hour later, right on Friday night, and I was so moved. Now I am not a religious person by any means, right? I think she was a little too just to be devil's advocate. She was a little bit too religious with it, but that's who she is, right? And I respect that. But watch out because
Hell hath Olga of
oh,
Kiev. She
I
reminded
know.
me of Kiev.
I think now she is the definition of a strong and independent woman,
Yes.
you know? And I think, we all say they've woken up the other side. I think you woke her up in a way that is obviously so personal to her. God help anyone that gets in her way. Seriously. I mean, and I don't mean like in violence or anything like that. Absolutely not. She certainly wouldn't be that way. But she is going to take his organization, his work, his words to a whole new level they never could have even fathomed. I was so impressed by what she had to say. The only negative, and I don't mean it necessarily as a negative, was she's hyper religious, and that's fine. I respect that. But speaking as someone who's not, and if she's trying to reach out to me, she succeeded, right? But I was like, all right. But her words were so powerful, and whatever happens with that organization, and what I'm seeing, and I'm sure you have too, is they've got tens of thousands of new chapter applications and stuff.
It doubled overnight. So he named it Turning Point, and it is now become the Turning Point. There's vigils all over the place, and I'm very impressed that nobody has burned any buildings down.
Not
That's
a
the
one
not a one,
that
and
I'm aware of.
that's how I know that this is on the right side of history, because we're not burning and looting. And by the way, even if he was on the other side, if he was a moderate Democrat on the other side, slightly left of center, I think he would have the same result, because his whole thing was that he was talking to people that disagreed with him,
Mhm.
and he asked for respect. The only and I never thought the day would come where I would agree with Bill Maher.
Yeah, I know.
but
But I respect Bill Maher.
but I respect him, because at least he will call out
Yes.
his own side. And he said I have to give the right credit. They will sit there and break bread with people they disagree with. They will hear you out. The left won't. They will sit there and say, we are above you. We don't have to listen to you. We don't have to do any of that. And I find the same thing with feminists. I will debate a feminist. You will debate a feminist. We keep asking them to talk to us,
All
but they
day long.
won't.
Come on the show.
Come talk to us, but they won't. And because they won't talk to us, they won't even listen to us. They have their perception of us, of him, but also of us, is that we are evil, because they have projected what they think we say onto us without ever actually listening to us. And that's why I truly believe, I don't remember who said it, but I agree wholeheartedly, and I've said something similar, but to paraphrase, they called him all these names not because he is those things. They didn't call him a Nazi because he's a Nazi. They called him a Nazi, fascist, horrible person in order to justify killing him.
Yep.
Because at least probably at least 10 years ago, that's when the left started calling us all these names. And I think a leftist news commenter actually commented it, that you cannot continue to call the other side Hitler and a Nazi and then not expect your listeners who are extreme to take you at your word, because those people deserved to be ended. And now I have to ask you, as a libertarian, because you're kind of the same vein as me, how do you feel about all of this consequence culture? People getting fired for celebrating someone's death.
Here's my viewpoint. And I said this on a live I did the other day. I will go and fight for their right to say what they said. I will also go and fight for the right for us to hold them accountable for it.
So I call it not cancel culture. I call it consequence culture. Here's my take on it. I don't think they're getting fired for their freedom of speech. The freedom of speech is your right to say whatever you want, and the government cannot imprison you for it. The government will not hold you accountable.
Government is the only one that has the option on
But
freedom of speech.
private citizens have a right to hold you accountable for what stupid shit you say.
As do businesses.
As do businesses. And if you say something, it's not the fact that you disagreed with him. It's not the fact that you used your freedom of speech. It's the fact that you are celebrating someone's assassination. You are celebrating the death of someone with whom you disagree. You're chanting about it. And I don't think that you should be held, like, you can't be in prison for it. You can't be fined. You shouldn't be doxxed. But if you lose your employment because you celebrated and danced ding dong, the witch is dead, the witch is dead, 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 and you had the cojones to put that out on the internet for everyone to see, and to see what a horrible person you are, because on the other side, if someone were to chant death to all gays, you would expect that they would get fired. So what's the difference?
They would demand.
They would demand it.
I have an opinion, and this is my opinion. If you think it's all right that a man was assassinated for the words that he said, then you're all right with getting fired for the words that you said.
Exactly.
Anyway,
it's not a freedom of speech issue. And, no. I've had this conversation with a few people who are upset about it. And I'm like, you don't understand the corporate world. I do, right?
Well, you're a liability.
Well, it's now, the average grunt worker doesn't sign a contract, but when you're in management and all that, you sign contracts effectively, right? There's morals clauses in all employment contracts, whether you sign them or not. So that's how they can get you. Most states are at will anyway. They can fire you just because they don't like, the color of your shirt. They have no obligation to keep you. So these people don't have a legal thing to stand on. None of them. And oh, by the way, who's the one who's been canceling everybody else for 2 decades now, right?
For stuff they said maybe 10 years ago, or...
I'll give you a perfect example. You and I have been canceled and had our income affected because they demonetized us on TikTok. Now, their argument is, well, TikTok did it. Well, yeah, because you all mass reported us. So how's that any different? And why are you bitching and moaning then? Because you took money. Now, I don't care about the money, right? It's pennies, but how's it any different? Why is that okay? Because you want to silence me on TikTok. So you're doxing me, you're mass reporting me. I mean, I put myself up there on TikTok, and I did it for a reason Friday, because I wanted to speak on that platform specifically differently than I did on the other ones about what had happened. Demonetized instantly. I mean, they just jumped on it. I am fully demonetized on both channels right now. So they didn't like what I was saying. And I said nothing negative about anyone. I just said, can we stop killing each other, basically, right? Mm-hmm. How's that any different than somebody getting fired from their job? Or, if they're a business owner, people saying, we're not going to do business with you anymore. I think it's fair game. I have no issue with it whatsoever. That said, I will defend their right to say what they said, as much as I hate it. but that's freedom of speech.
Well, there's a different, and this is what I argument. There's no such thing as hate speech. There's speech that you hate, but there's no such thing.
I would disagree with you on that. There is certain things that are hate speech.
True. But in this context, I would actually rather someone speak their mind, as hateful and awful as it is, so I know who to avoid, than
That's
have
a
them
great
bottle
point.
it up and not know. Rattlesnakes make noise, and you know that they're venomous, and you don't step on them. It's the same basic thing. The toxic people would say what they say, and I can say, I don't want you in my circle. I'm not required to let you close to me, and I don't want you anywhere near me, and I get to do that. It's almost like a disclosure or informed consent. I want you in my circle, but I want to know what you really think before I let you close. If you bottle it all up and then I let you close, and then I find out that you're really a threat to me, well then, again, I would rather know that up front. And yeah, you have the right to say it. I will fight for your right to say horrible things. And then I will also fight for the business's right to exercise their freedom of speech and say, you don't work for us anymore.
Yep. Or for people to boycott a business that may have said something that they didn't like.
Because I mean, didn't in the Civil Rights Act, there were white only businesses, and they were boycotted by
as
black, as they should have been, and they had to change their they had to change their policies or lose business. How is this any different?
You know, you bring up interesting points, and something I did a video on that was out. I think it was yesterday it released, where I talked about this has blown the doors off of some things. The educational system can hide its indoctrination no more. It is out there for everyone to see. You know, and I had, followers, I'm sure you did too, sending me these videos. I've probably at this point watched 250 of them, of people cheering and all that. The overwhelming majority of them are educators, followed not too far behind by medical personnel, nurses, doctors, and that's not to say there's not others, but I was blown away over the weekend watching these videos, and I purposely watched them because I wanted to see what they were saying. And it was teachers, school administrators, college professors.
Well, the shooter himself was from a fairly conservative family, then went to school and was radicalized,
indoctrinated.
Exactly. And so there's a very famous picture. It was taken in Boston, and the medical people who are cheering for the death of someone they disagree with, how long before they refuse to serve someone or save someone with whom they disagree? And all I can argue
they probably already have.
They probably already have. Well, there's a very, very famous picture. It's taken in Boston. It is a picture of an all-black operating theater, doctors, nurses, everyone trying desperately to save a Klan member in costume. They put aside their differences, and this man probably hated them, and they did their job. Mm-hmm. And I am thinking of that picture when I see these doctors and nurses celebrating for the death of someone with whom they disagree. I would almost argue that we have gone backwards. We've gone backwards.
Oh, without question, Lindsay. Come on, there's no argument. We absolutely have.
And now I'm also thinking about, Martin Luther King Jr., who was not exactly a wonderful person, but he talked about the same sort of stuff that Charlie did, and they killed him for it. In our history, all of the people in history who talked about unity and how we should talk to the other side, how we should compromise and love each other and meet in the middle, have all been killed for it. Mm-hmm. Going back thousands of years, whether or not you believe in Jesus as the Son of God or not, or if you think that he was just a prophet, he was killed for it. Kennedy was killed for it. Lincoln was killed for it. Martin Luther King was killed for it.
Yeah, the list is, and I mean, we could go back.
Thousands of years. And I find that sad that in all that time in human history, we haven't learned a fucking thing. We haven't.
And I would argue, like you said, it seems like things are getting worse. I think it's worse now than it ever has been in my lifetime. And that's saying a lot considering what was going on in the 60s, right? Because I'm old enough to fall into the 60s. But I was like sitting there going, and that's why I did the video I did. When I see teacher after teacher, by the way, some of the people I banned on my Facebook, teachers. You gotta remember, I worked for a school district, right? Some of them, and oh, by the way, I might have sent some things to the school board, right? And I'm like, and this is what I said in my video for those that haven't seen it, if they have the guts, the arrogance to say these things publicly, where they know they're going to be seen by others, it's pales in comparison to what they are saying in the classroom to the kids,
where they think no one can see them,
where
which is
no
why
one
they
can see them.
which is why they don't want cameras in the classroom. Now it's suddenly starting to make a lot more sense why
Well,
they
there's
don't
also
want.
keep in mind though, Lindsay, because again, I've been involved in that argument. Privacy for children is the main argument against it. It's as much as people want to believe it's the teachers don't want it in there, which is true and is fair. The other argument is they don't want children's faces because of P3DOs, which is a fair argument, by the way,
Yes,
which
but
I
there's
kind
also
of countered by
Yeah,
saying,
but you can make it for you can make that argument, sure, but here's the thing that I look at all the time. Let's say you got privileged information, but it's relevant to a court case. Someone says, "Oh, I don't want to give it up because it's personal and private information." Okay, so we ask the court for a protective order to keep it secret. The same applies. We get to ask the legislature to say, "Hey, guess what? This is only for law enforcement review."
that doesn't mean it won't get out.
You know what? Sometimes it's a risk.
It is the
But
argument
there's
I always made,
transparency
though.
that I look at too.
Yeah,
But
I
you
mean,
can-
the argument I made as the technology officer for the school when they were having this whole debate, literally in 2012, that's how far back it was that we could set the cameras so they're only on the teacher in the front of the room.
exactly.
And the way our classrooms were set up, and it is not the same in every district, but the majority of the rooms, the camera would have focused on the door and the teacher in the front. The door is where the teacher was. It just was a quirk of our district. I know that doesn't apply everywhere else. So we could have put them and protected children's safety, right? Now with AI, they'd be easy to blot the kids' faces out. That would be easy as hell. So I do think cameras need to be in there. Now, that goes to your argument though, Lindsay, that teachers unions will fight it tooth and nail for the reasons they don't want to be found out, right? It's, like Steve just mentioned, how about microphones in the classroom? We never made that argument, but it's one I've heard before, and it is a valid argument because now you've got visual protection, right? You're not being seen. Again, that's the teachers unions will fight that one tooth and nail for sure. But that's a tough one. By the way, I am a proponent of cameras in the classroom. I'm not saying I'm not, but I also do see the other side of it.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, I see the other side too, but at this point, much like the misquoted quote of Charlie's about the Second Amendment, that in order to have certain benefits, we have to accept certain costs and risks. They're talking about how they always misquote him about gun deaths. A certain amount of gun deaths are what we have to risk for having the freedom to bear arms. And then he follows that up because they never actually finish the whole quote. They cherry pick about vehicle deaths. About 50,000 people or more a year die from vehicular deaths. We have decided that is worth the benefit of being able to transport goods, drive back and forth places, all of that. You will never get gun death to zero. You will never get vehicle death to zero. Now, you should do everything in your power to mitigate the damage, which is what we would be doing with cameras or microphones in school. We would try and close every loophole we can. We would try and make it as tight as possible. But at this point, I think we can't afford not to have some monitoring system in the schools, because now we have teachers radicalizing our youth to think that the other side shouldn't even be allowed to talk. And mind you, if this went the other way, I would be just as upset, because our whole country is based on the idea that we should be able to challenge each other's viewpoints. And I'm a full proponent in believing that if the other side, if your point, your side cannot stand up to opposition, then it's not nearly as strong as you think it is, because the truth does not mind being questioned. You know what does? Lies hate being questioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I see in the comments, people are talking about the schools and throwing out things. Again, I've been heavily involved in this, mind you, 10, 12 years ago, right? When I was involved in it was right around the Sandy Hook time. And I remember we were all at a conference um, for the local school districts, roughly about an 80-mile radius around when Sandy Hook happened. We were all together in a hotel conference room. Like literally every leader from every district was there, and then our phones just started blowing up because the word was getting out. So it triggered all this talk, and school boards got involved in all that. And you know, there's no sure fix. Having worked with New York State Police, talked to them. Our school was in the boonies. Their response time, the police response time, they said on average would be about 20 minutes. Let that sink in for a minute. It's not like a big city where the police can be there in 3 minutes, say. At best, 20 minutes. And if they're on the other side of the county, it could be 40, 45 minutes, that
Well,
long for them to get there.
well, that argument comes back again to, we didn't have soft targets. Is like shooting fish in a freaking barrel.
Right.
We protect our celebrities with guns. We protect our money with guns. We protect our politicians with guns. We protect our sports teams with guns. We protect our comedians with armed security. What do we protect our children with? Gun-free zone. Because apparently people who want to do harm care about the law. They
Well,
don't.
when we were having that argument at the time, my argument was put a police officer in the school.
But my argument was, and the high school near where I live, it has a school marshal, just like an air marshal. No one knows who it is. The district trains them, but there's a sign outside the high school that says, "If you come armed, we fight back." But then I live in Texas. Guess what? Nobody's had a threat.
And bear in mind, it is our Second Amendment has kept two major world powers from invading us.
When I think about the schools, and again, we were having conversations and all that, and it's kind of going off topic. We're going in the Second Amendment off topic, and that's fine. But they were the most laughable one, sitting in a board meeting, and this is I'm not exaggerating this by any means, with what I would consider would be the ultra left wing person that was on the board, which was these days he would be considered far right, by the way, right? I mean, he was liberal, strong liberal, but had the common sense of a snail, because his argument was he was going to arm me with tear gas grenades. So if something happened in the school, my job was going to be to go and throw tear gas grenades at the shooter. Yeah, idiot. No. I'm not going up against somebody with a tear gas grenade. I said, I, by the way, have a right to carry permit. I'm more than willing to do that. That's different. But,
Well, we get back to the fact that it's a mental health problem, not a gun problem, because we have always had guns, and it's only recently in the last 75 years that this has been a real problem.
Last
30 especially.
It was never a problem before the late 90s with Columbine.
And I still think that the news corporations, they glorified the shooter. And they don't take it seriously until there's a problem. And then they're best protect the children. And they're like, well, if we take away the argument, it always baffles me, is it's the same argument, by the way, that the feminists that always claim, just raise your boys not to rape. Duh. Rapists don't care that it's wrong. That's why they're rapists. The same thing with criminals. They don't care that it's wrong. That's why they're criminals. That if they didn't have access to guns, they would do it with something else. Timothy McVeigh was not armed. He did it with fertilizer. You can run a car through a school. those chain link fence, do you think that's going to stop, a big truck if it floors it? You can go right through that chain link fence into the school and run around on zombie kids.
They ran planes into buildings.
They ran planes into buildings. Like, those who wish to do harm
will do harm.
And the best way to stop them is to make them fear retribution from their victims.
And go ahead.
And so, like, the system failed the shooter, and I still think that he should be held accountable for the horrible things that he done. Although someone said that he should not be put to death. He should be put in solitary confinement for the rest of his life and forced to listen to Charlie Kirk on repeat for the rest of his life.
That was me. Well, maybe somebody else said it, but my argument is he should go to, I call it the Alcatraz in Colorado, that one, the Supermax, where they are locked in their cell basically 24/7 with nothing. And that's, killing him is too good. And I'm pro death penalty, by the way. Right?
So I am.
But in this case, I'm not. I want the opposite. I want him to suffer. And I don't care if you think I'm a horrible being, too bad. I don't care. I don't at this point. Because here's the thing that's triggering me, and I'll be personal about it, is, and I'm not trying to say I'm Charlie Kirk by any means, but Charlie Kirk is, what he did is me. It's you, Lindsay, right? We speak out on issues that people don't like. So, sure, we don't have the platforms he did. I'm not trying to compare myself to him or you, comparing you to him in any way, shape, or form. But that's us. I'm sitting here right now with my hand 2 inches from not a remote control. Okay? If you catch my drift, I can't show it because we'll get taken down. I have it literally 2 inches from my hand right now. We've gotten to that point. I can't afford to have private security sitting here all the time. And if somebody wants to find me, they can find me. They can find you. It's not that hard if you know what you're doing. I've found people, right?
Well, you say that we're not Charlie Kirk. We are kind of where he started.
I'm just saying at the level.
But yes, but
Yeah.
but
we do the same thing.
But we do the same thing. We talk about issues that shouldn't be controversial. I mean, they're really common sense, about fairness, about equality, about how, we shouldn't, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. We're talking about men's and boys issues because men and boys are marginalized in today's society. And if they're killing people, and the irony is that engraved on the bullet or something was "Catch this fascist" or something. Do you know who?
Steve, thank you for making me laugh. I needed that.
Do you know who the real fascist is? The fascists are the people who silence the other side, that don't let the other side talk. Yep.
And kill them when they try
to. And that is what's so terrible. I think that's what I'm having so much problems with is that they killed the nice guy.
Yeah, people are saying that in the comments. And that's the thing, right? Is, you could disagree with me. I have no problem with that. I have tried to engage in debate with feminists many times. I'm at the point now, because here's the other thing. Let me just kind of sidetrack real quick and get your opinion on this. I would argue that of all the videos I've seen, and it's well over 200, I don't know of a single one of those people I wouldn't also classify as a feminist. Not one.
I've seen 2.
Okay, so 2. How many videos have you seen, ballpark?
Like a couple hundred, 300
okay,
something.
And we're probably some overlap, right? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, there was 100 to keep it a really low number. That's 2% aren't. 2 out of 100. What does that tell you? How deeply entwined is feminism in this? Feminism runs the schools. If you don't think that's true, you're nuts, okay? Because it does.
Well, feminism is just basically Marxism, but with gender.
Yes. And that's what, I've been debating doing a video on this because I know what's going to happen if I do, right? But you see a lot of, there's a new acronym out for the liberal white women. I forget what they're called, what it is, but they were a lot of them. And that's not to say there weren't, I saw black, I saw Hispanic. You know what? I didn't see a single Asian. That doesn't mean there aren't any. I just haven't seen one, right? That cheered for it. But the majority of what I saw, white liberal women, feminists, and
or the nice guy,
or the male feminists,
the male feminists,
right? And when you see that repeated over and over again, it shows you the divide, right? So now when people come to me and say, Dan, you're so mean to women, you should have dialogue with feminists. Why? They're going to kill me.
Houston.
Yeah, he's
You're not wrong.
He's right.
He's right.
He's 100% right. When awfuls, is that what it is? Is that the acronym? I think that is. But why should I have a dialogue with a feminist now? Because they want me to die. Literally, they're telling me that. Right?
They want you to die. They want me to be raped. Again.
And again, I mean, to go back to the overall context, what we're seeing is the response from the non-left, because it's not just the right that's doing it. The center is doing it. That's the thing that is blowing my mind in a good way. That's who's really woken up. The right was the right. People like me, now you could argue, I would classify myself center right. Economically, I was telling me how this happened.
That's not me.
It's not me.
That's his internet.
I think so.
I just wanted to say that on the record. Peace.
Alone at last, everyone. Alone at last. It's just me. Okay. And Curtis.
What? He says it ain't a... I gotta get in here.
Oh, no. Someone hacked Dan. They're trying to silence, but I'm the loud one. I'm the problem. Oh, I changed my thing. It used to say that I'm the problem. Everyone's saying it's Dan that froze. So we have justice, vindication, validation, Curtis. It is not us.
It isn't us. And there we were, being blamed the entire time. However, I do find that Dan's points are correct. So, in my humble opinion, please, nobody target me, please, for having an opinion.
Well, did you hear the last thing he was talking about? The last thing I heard about was it's the Squirrel Show. No, there's a boy on screen. He's our producer. He's our backup boy. The other bald guy.
Oh. Here he is.
I'm back.
Okay.
I think Curtis is trying to silence me.
That's bullshit.
All right, bring it back. I don't even know what I was talking about. What the hell are you doing there? So
he's putting me back in my proper
rightful
place, in my rightful place.
Putting the woman on the right.
She's at the right hand of the Father.
There we go. Yeah, that's the second time. Actually, before we came on air, the same thing. And Restream kicks me. It's not an internet issue that I can tell. So anyway, I forget what I was talking about.
You're slightly right of center.
Oh yeah, on most issues, I'm probably slightly right of center. There's a lot though that I'm on the left side of center, right? And that's where I catch flack from both sides. I it's funny because the other day when I was doing the live on my own, I had people coming at me that were Republicans because I'm like, you know, I don't just bow to Trump. I call him out on things. I call the Republican Party out all the time. If you don't believe me, go watch the freaking videos I've posted, right? And I had some guy going nuts. Well, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then I had another guy on the other side going blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you got two completely different sides telling me that I'm with the other side. Make it make sense.
Well, it's a lot like the Salem witch trials. It's
Which, by the way,
you're with
more
them.
men died in than women, just for the record.
Yeah, and who was at fault there? Who started the Salem frickin' witch trials? It was a whole bunch of bored teenage girls who decided to lie and lobby false allegations left, right, and sideways. So I mean, women have been the problem for a long time. I'm just saying that's the clip they're gonna use. That's the clip they're
But
gonna use.
I mean, this whole thing that we're seeing is to bring it back into what we talk about, which is men and boys issues. This is raising my hopes up a little bit, and I don't know if they should, right? Because we are not directly but indirectly starting to call out feminism as well, right? The teachers getting exposed, which is the indoctrination center across the board for feminism, right? Yes, also the left. But to me, they're intertwined. There's no difference. The far left and feminism are the same, right? I think we're going to see some movement on some of the men's issues out of this. I saw Megyn Kelly the other day, who I have no love for, just for the record, right? I really don't like some of the ideas she has, especially with regard to men and boys. She views them as sacrificial, disposable, to be used, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But at least she was parroting the right words the other day that I saw. But I'm hopeful that this will bring more dialogue, because I think that is going to be the end result of all this.
Well, I mean, that's what he wanted. Is he wanted people to talk to each other, because we haven't been talking to each other for years, and that's why the Republican side, and I will lambaste them on it. They were constantly taking the high road. They're like, your idea is stupid. I'm not going to dignify you with an answer. But in not engaging with the other side, what they did was they allowed them to voice those wrong opinions unchallenged. And then and because they didn't challenge the idea and they say them wrong, they allowed them to proliferate and spread unchallenged. And what am I always saying? Evil prevails when good men do nothing, and there is complicity and silence. When you say nothing and you allow atrocities, be they verbal or not, to continue, you are complicit in allowing them to continue in your silence. And by taking the high road, we are in this mess. Charlie wanted to not take the high road. He wanted to talk to the people, and he changed minds. And I think that's one of the reasons why they targeted him more than anyone else, is because he was effective. He would go to college campuses.
Absolutely,
he would go to college campuses, and they are always like, well, you're debating college students. Yes, because they're future voters. They are the future leaders of the country. They are exactly who you need to be talking about. The war of culture is going to be won with youth, not the people that have already passed their heyday. And those are the people you need to talk to. Those are the people that they need to talk to.
Just slam us boomers again.
Not intentionally.
The damn millennial.
Well, I would argue even that I'm past it, because
no, I get what your point is.
I'm past it.
But you're not, though. So here's the thing. I hear what you're saying on that, but you're college kid. I agree with everything you said about college kids, but your age group has a lot more power than you realize. You guys just don't use it in the right way, right? Someone like yourself, for example, if you started going to college campuses, speaking to the girls and educating them, I think you could change a lot of their minds. You'd be killed for it, though.
I was actually tempted to ask if I could go have like a Steven Crowder, "We don't live in a patriarchy, change my mind" booth to have people talk to. Like go to like UTSA or something, some soft target, I guess. But because the whole reason why I started speaking up on TikTok at all is because I have always tried to hold myself to the standard I have for other people. And if I'm going to hold other people accountable for staying silent or complicit in their silence, I have to hold myself accountable too. So as soon as I knew that there was TikTok and it wasn't just for cute cat videos, I started making comments and I started making videos about the atrocities that I see against men and boys.
Country, you just where I'm going next. Go ahead, finish up, Lindsay.
And that's where I got my started on TikTok. But I had been talking to men and boys about their issues since I was still in high school, just quietly, not very loud.
So, Country on YouTube mentioned that. Oh yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I don't want to lose my thought. Mentioned Maddie with the Anti-Alienation Project. Maddie was going to college campuses, meeting with kids to talk about parental alienation, just telling them what it was. She wasn't trying to draw them into anything, wasn't trying to recruit them or any of that. She was just sharing her story. And her and I have talked, by the way, about doing some of this stuff together, right? That was a while ago, and then she had her baby and all that, so we haven't really talked since then, and I want to. But she got a lot of vitriol too. And I don't know that she'll do it now. And I respect that if she chooses not to. She's the mother of multiple young children, right? And so in a way, they've succeeded in silencing some of us, right? Like somebody said to me, why don't you go on college campuses? Well, I probably wouldn't right now because I can't protect myself there. They're free zones. So, when I'm out in public now and for the past many years, I've always gone out with protection. And I don't mean a condom, okay? It's always on me, always. As I said, as I'm sitting here at my desk talking to you, I have protection not 6 inches from where my hand is right now, okay? I think it's deplorable that I have to be that way. But like going on college campuses, doing what Charlie Kirk did, what Ben Shapiro is now going to be doing, many others, they can afford security. But even their security, like people have blasted Kirk's security. I can't. You can only protect so far. If the Secret Service can't do it, who is the best protection organization in the world, and I admit they made mistakes with Trump, and they do a fantastic job generally, but they can't cover everything. There's no way. There's always a way to get someone if you want. And that's where we have to kind of figure. Yeah, it is ribbed. We have to kind of figure this out because moving forward, I'm not going to be silenced. I left TikTok due to threats. I'm so pissed off right now. That's why I started going back on TikTok. Fuck them. I mean, you're already killing people, so why shouldn't I speak out now? But I also have to be prudent about it. Speaking out on TikTok is one thing. Speaking out at a college campus where I have zero protection, that's another.
I guess I could technically set up the table outside of the college campus, and then I live in Texas, where I have my military husband standing behind me. Come talk to me.
Yeah, it's just sad that certain people, and by the way, there are some on the right that are this way too. To be fair, not many, but there are some. Just think that violence is the only answer. And what I'm heartened by also, by the way, is seeing the response and zero violence. I don't know of a single incident of true violence that's occurred anywhere. They've gone for people's jobs. They've done stuff like that. I don't know of any violence. Not a building's been burned, looted, all that stuff.
they've had prayer circles on almost every college campus, and they're calmly protesting, peacefully protesting, and it's not just in America. London had like
saw that.
100,000 people. Australia, South Korea.
Keep talking. I gotta let the dog out.
And then they have the nerve to say that all of the political violence in the past 20 years has all come from the right. And first of all, I think we should stop trying to label this side is guilty of this and this side is guilty of this, because both sides are guilty of not listening to each other, which is why we have this problem. The right, of course, has historically taken the high road, which has done us no good. And then the left, of course, is guilty of not wanting to listen to the other side. And again, I keep going back to, we have more things in common than we have differences. Men and women have more things in common than we do difference, although there are differences, biological, by the way. Disclaimer. But if we talk to each other, we would find out that we have more in common. And like I said on the last show, I miss the America of 9/12/2001. And they're listening to Quentin. They're listening to reply. They're not listening to understand. They listen so long. They listen enough. They listen enough to reply without comprehending or understanding or change their mind. And I have had debates with feminists that will actually talk to me. Most of them are more old school feminists than the new ones. The new ones won't even deny to talk to me at all, because they claim that I am a pick-me who, that's the nicest thing they call me. Traitor to my gender. I've also been accused of being a trans woman, obviously, because I must be a man. There's no way that I could hold my opinions and be actually female. And all of those things are designed to justify silencing me, why I should not be allowed to speak, which is exactly what they did with Kirk. They called him all sorts of names. They said, you're homophobic, you're racist, you're this, you're that, all to justify silencing him. And when that didn't work and he was still gaining momentum, they killed him.
And then they resorted to saying the same things to justify the killing.
Exactly. And if nothing else, I am pleased to see the silent majority, which is the middle, on both sides, because the middle encompasses both sides. It doesn't encompass just one side. The middle is waking up and saying, now, wait a minute. Even people who vehemently disagreed with him, Jamie Lee Curtis, for example, she went on record saying, I vehemently disagree with almost everything he said, but he was still shot in front of his wife and children. And I cannot condone that. That's the whole point. You have to be willing to show compassion to people with whom you disagree. And we've lost that.
And then, for every Jamie Lee Curtis, you've got an Elizabeth Warren. Oh, it's too bad. So sorry for his wife and children, but I'm not toning down my rhetoric.
But your rhetoric is what got him killed.
Exactly. And that's, so for every good, there's bad, right? I'm trying to remain positive and hopeful with all this. And I think in a lot of ways, there is a lot of positive that will come out of this. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that there are a significant body of people in this country, and worldwide for that matter, that are too far gone.
They are the irony is that the tolerant left are the most intolerant group of bigots I've ever met, because they are intolerant of any belief or choice that does not align with their own personal beliefs and choices.
Right. I don't know. Are you familiar with Destiny, the podcaster?
Yes, unfortunately.
So, I mean, you've probably seen what he's been saying, right?
Yes, unfortunately.
And I'm sitting there watching. I got through it he was on Piers Morgan's. I went in a rabbit hole on all this, on Piers Morgan's thing, saying these things. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right? Now you're saying this stuff. But more appalling to me, Lindsay, was not what he was saying, which again I would defend his right to say it. It was all the people agreeing with him. They have not learned. Even with all the people losing their jobs, they have not learned. A lot of them haven't. And my fear is this will go on for a while. We'll be aware of it and all that, but then we get complacent again. Just like we have with 9/11, right? We were super thing, all blah blah blah,
We
and
said
then
we said never forget, and we forgot. It took
we
a
forgot.
generation. It took
Yeah.
a decade, and we forgot.
And that's where it's on us as individuals to not let that happen. Wherever you stand on Kirk, before all this happened, I was aware of him. I knew who he was, right? I did a political radio show up till last December. We talked every once in a while about him, but I didn't watch his videos. I didn't really pay attention much other than being on the periphery of it all. And, I made a conscious decision this past weekend to watch a bunch of his videos on YouTube. And I have to say, I didn't agree with a lot of what he was saying. And I've thrown numbers out before, and I'll refine them a little bit. About 25%, right? I didn't agree with. And a perfect example was he respected gay marriage, but he didn't, quote, support it, right? He had his religious position on it. I have no issue with him having that position. None. It's not mine. That's where I would say that's where we disagree, right? And Dave Rubin, who happens to be gay, and him are very good friends and have had the same conversations, right? That's where we need to be. But I just don't see us staying there. Can we even get there, first of all? But if we do, can we stay there? I just don't see it right now because it's mostly on the left, but there's some crazies on the right. But those people are so far gone. When you see Destiny saying the things he was saying, when you see the girl that, or not girl, woman, who was probably in her 40s and 50s, calling for more violence on TikTok, I saw it. Her account was banned, but everybody's got her video out there. Those people are too far gone. You can't just say we can tamp them down a little bit and it'll be better, because they're not going anywhere. And if we let them go into hiding, that's when they can be even more dangerous. Much like the teachers, right? All these teachers that have been fired, it's not enough. We need to make sure they never work in the schools again. Go make lattes at Starbucks, right? And I was saying last week that somebody had mentioned to me starting a website to track all these videos. Well, somebody's actually doing it. There's a database being created with all these videos, searchable. So in the future, when these people go to get jobs, employers will look for them.
So
that's how you can end all this vitriol.
So I have actually been a follower of Kirk since he first showed up on my TV in, I believe, 2012. I followed him, and then I've also followed his wife. So I've also read all of his books. I do not agree with everything he says, but I agree with like 90% of what he says, or at least it makes 90% of what he says makes me think. And that was worth following or reading about, honestly. And one of my favorite clips is someone asked him what was in his Starbucks cup, and it's two Mint Majesty tea with 2 honeys. And someone went into a Starbucks. You were talking about teachers working in Starbucks. They went into a Starbucks to order that, and when they asked for what your name is, they said, "I am Charlie Kirk," and the barista refused to make it.
And Starbucks took an official position that was okay. It may have changed, but the last I saw, they were okay with it.
And they're going to lose business for that.
As they should.
But we have to be it all boils down to we have to be willing to talk to each other within reason.
Is that even possible though, Lindsay? Where I live, it's starting to make the rounds. Most people probably aren't aware of it, but I live near UNCW, University of North Carolina in Wilmington. Okay, so they had a prayer vigil in honor of Kirk the past few days, and there's a rock on campus that was decorated as a memorial for Kirk. And there was a college age girl, and they've identified her, and she put it on Instagram. She had herself video desecrating that memorial. And she's a complete loon from what everybody's seeing, right? I saw that online. You know where I didn't see it? In
From the
my
news.
news media, right? On one station. The other station did a little, and they hid it. You could tell. In fact, I'm going to be reaching out to the station manager about it because I'm going to call it out. Not because of the Kirk thing, but just in general, because I've seen this pattern from them before where I've called them out on issues for men and boys many times. They are obviously rad feminists that run that station, right? And I have inside information on it. They are. When you see that, now again, I would defend her right to do what she did. I don't agree with it by any means, but they're not going to hold her accountable so far. The college is standing by her right now. So she technically committed a crime. She defaced private property of the college. So they could charge her based on that and evict her. The fact that they don't means the college condones it, right? And that's where I'm going with all this is until we start holding those that allow it, the Starbucks, the UNCWs, that type of thing, accountable, it's not going to change. It'll be noise, and then these teachers will get rehired. They're getting, suspended with pay. Well, having done investigations on teachers, 9 times out of 10, they keep their jobs.
Texas is taking away teachers' licenses.
That's what needs to be done.
They're losing their licensures to teach. They'll never be hired as a teacher again in the state of Texas.
And that's what needs to be done.
And as much as I want to say that we can't have conversations we cannot have conversations with people that just want us silenced permanently. We cannot have conversations.
How to have a conversation with someone that wants you dead?
You don't. You can't.
Yeah.
But saying that we're not going to talk to the other side at all is how we got in, why we need more Charlie Kirks. And like I said, he was successful. That's why they killed him, is he was efficient. He was very effective.
As I was watching his videos, I was impressed because some of them, the vitriol that was thrown at him, he never responded to it. He's a better man than I ever could be.
One of my favorite videos of his is there's a woman going, I hate Charlie Kirk, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. And then it's him like, I'm going to send her a signed hat.
But I mean, there were people like on some of those videos. Now, I understand they cultivate those videos and all that. I understand that. But in general, I didn't notice a lot of editing with these videos. And, he would just sit and take it. And the thing that really impressed me more than anything with him, Lindsay, was he would set the microphone down.
So that he wouldn't be tempted to interrupt them and let them talk.
Yeah.
And let them talk. He would also sit there and please request, let's show them grace and respect, because the left never gives that to us. So let's not be what they claim we are. And he was effective. He was very, very, very effective.
I think that's why they killed him more
than anything. That's why I think that they killed him, is because he was turning things around. He was swaying people. And how sad is that?
Well, it gives me pause, though, Lindsay. It brings it back to you and I and others like us. If they can do that to him, it's not if, but when they'll do it to us. That's the way I view it right now, right? You know what you've been through. You know what I've been through, right? I got a death threat Friday. Now, mind you, this one was laughable. I don't take it seriously at all. However, I have filed, and once they find the kid and they believe it's a kid, that kid's going to get charged, right? Because I'm done playing nice now. I'm done playing nice. I'm not going to let it slide anymore. It has to stop. But, it's 6 of one, half dozen another as far as how much risk are you willing to take? Because you and I are at risk. But the other side of it is I'll be goddamned if I'm going to be silenced, right? Fuck no. It ain't happening. Like I said, I've gone back on TikTok because of this. It actually, they drove me off of it by making threats. Now I'm back. And while I haven't come back with a vengeance, I won't say that. I will be. I'm going to launch so many effing videos on TikTok in the very near future. TikTok's not going to be able to handle it, okay? Assuming they don't get banned this weekend, because they might.
I have purposely not posted anything because, first of all, I'm too angry. And second, I wanted time to gather my thoughts. I also wanted to give him the respect of being rest in peace before I use his name or do anything in his name. I didn't think I would be able to add to anything to the conversation that wasn't already being said right then. I will be posting more. But I had to step back for a minute because I was too angry.
Totally understand that. And I went the opposite route, right? I wanted to let my emotion out. And I think I did. And that's okay, right? Neither one of us is wrong for doing what we did or right. It's just who we are. We're being ourselves. I respect the hell out of you for doing what you're doing by stepping back, right? I respect that. And God help them once you get back in. You'll eviscerate them. I know that, right? Whereas I'm the opposite. But that's why we get along so well, right? We agree on most things. I think that's fair to say, but we disagree on some things too. How many times have you texted me to go, Dan, but
being a member of some of those text messages, I can vouch. Jeez Louise. I go, I'm not touching this one. You're on your own.
Yeah, my brother, bald-headed brother, doesn't have my back. Just remember who's the dad here.
If Dan's making sense, I go, no, and I always articulate why. But at the end of the day, I get where both of you are coming from. I mean, the very day it happened, we got done with this podcast, and nothing sat well with me.
Not me either.
I immediately, like I was leaving, going to a city council meeting, and I was like, this ain't right. And I drove over to a city shed, parked in a gravel parking lot in the corner of this little farm town, and recorded this very, very short, sweet video to the point of, I don't care where your views are. It shouldn't matter what end of the political spectrum you are. What is not right is the fact that 2 children are going to be without their father.
Yep.
And that spouse is going to be without her husband.
She got 5 years with her soulmate. I cannot imagine losing mine. And that's where my mind went.
A 1-year-old and a 3-year-old will grow up without their father.
The son will never know his father. The daughter probably will have some faint recollection because she's 3.
But that's it.
But that's at most.
She's 3.
Right? The son will never know his father. You don't remember things at a year and whatever.
No.
And that's who my heart ultimately breaks for.
And Country says he saw the video. And Country's on my Instagram. So yeah, he saw the video.
Oh, your video? I haven't seen it. So
I saw your video. I also saw the woman who said, I can tell you're a liberal. And I'm like, you obviously didn't watch the video.
No, so the funny part is that woman is a very deranged woman. She goes around, she friends all of these conservative folks, but I don't think she's firing on all cylinders.
The hamster is dead, but the wheel is still turning.
Yes. Lights are on, but nobody's home.
I'm going to have to go make a point to check your video out later because
I got what I did. Facebook and Instagram.
Process yourself, your emotions by talking about them. That's what I do. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And, again, I take back nothing of what I said. And just like anything I post, I will always own it. Always. And I've been called out many times and I've been wrong and admitted it. Right. But in this case, Steve just made a good point. I think the daughter will remember what she's being told right now. I think you're right. And what I think is really going to be something she remembers is the response that in general the country has had for her dad. Mm-hmm. That I think for all the negative
So did you hear what her mother, how her mother told her? Well, I saw a video at
I saw it when she talked about it.
one of the memorials. People have started leaving blueberries
Mhm.
at all of the memorials, and I just started to cry. Um,
How could you not? I mean, I
how can you
cried
not?
when
Um,
Erica did her video Friday night. I cried. I'm not going to tell you I didn't. I absolutely did. And it
and,
wasn't, my eyes are pollen. No, I cried.
and I cannot tell if it's. I think it's still rumor, but I think enough people have repeated it that I'm. The report is that the wife and the children were there, and the daughter heard the gunshot and tried to run to her father because he
I've
protects
heard
her.
the same. Yeah, I've heard.
And then that's what people are cheering about. Is that. So my thoughts have been, yes, with him, but more with the wife and the children lately, and the people that are saying, oh, Erica's better off because now she's away from him, and the daughter is better off because her father's horrible. And I have never wanted to be able to reach through my screen and strangle someone
But Lindsay, how could
more.
any woman say that and not be a feminist? Because that's feminist mind think right there. That's their group think, right? That the woman will always be better off without the man. That's straight out of feminism 101.
But
And
then
that's why we need to call out feminism for this also, not just the left.
But
okay, fine, Steve. Revoke my man card. I don't care.
so the same fucking feminists who sit there and claim men don't step up are now cheering for the dad who did step up.
But they're also bitching about all the men who are stepping up, because I don't know how many people now have come out and said they're going to cover the costs for everything and all that. Multiple athletes I've seen, multiple politicians and all that. But it's not about the money. It has nothing to do with the money. It's about doing the right thing. And
once again, feminism has removed the father from the life of the children, this time permanently. But they're doing the same thing in family court. They're removing fathers from their children's lives.
And celebrating
it. This is the more extreme example of that same mindset. How can you? And they're calling us inhumane. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting there, okay. And the argument that they I'm anti-violence and I'm anti-gun, but you're cheering when guns are used to kill someone you disagree with. Then you're not anti-violence and you're not anti-gun. You're control.
No, they're anti-gun for the people that they don't like having them. They're pro-gun for the people they do like having them. That's really what it is.
Well, then you're totalitarian. You're a totalitarianist. Totalitarian. You know what I'm trying to say, Curtis?
It'll be like we haven't really talked about the kid that
I think the word you might be looking for is
fascist.
Yeah, that's one of them. But
I mean, I'm having a hard time with it, period, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander doesn't apply. And the problem is when you have a double-edged sword, it cuts both ways.
Yeah.
Charlie articulated that.
Yeah.
And the other part of this whole thing is if you argue from the point of being perfect or, omnipotent or, there's nothing wrong with you, then you've already failed. And I mean, look, Dan saw it on Sunday. This whole idea that they attacked him in such a negative way, I will tell you, when you resort to name calling, it's only because you don't have anything left.
I have nothing to argue with them.
You have nothing valid to state because you've lost. So now you get downright petty. It's
well, then you try and silence the opposition by calling them all sorts of names, or you can't refute their argument, so you resort to calling them names to try and to discredit them so that you can dismiss their ideas and win the argument that way.
Wasn't there a certain doctor in Germany, about 100 years ago, that followed that mantra for an entire religion? Yeah. So the Socialist Party, which would be far left by definition, and that's the problem, right? Is
I hope you mean doctor is a loose term.
no, he was a doctor, Doctor
Uh-huh.
G, if that helps you. For those that might not know, I'm not going to mention his name because he is an evil person, right? Um, I want to kind of go somewhere we got to be really careful with, which is to talk about a little bit about mental illness in the sense that, and I want to clarify this up front. I have no, I'm not supporting the shooter in any way, the kid that did the shooting. He needs to go, in my opinion, he should go into Supermax for life and throw away the key and let him suffer for the next 60 years, right?
And he listens to Charlie Kirk
Kirk on
podcast
repeats
on
all day
repeat
long.
24/7.
But let's talk about the elephant in the room with this. The kid has serious mental health issues, serious ones. There's no question in my mind he does. And again, I am not trying to defend him in any way, shape, or form or excuse any part of it. But we need to have this discussion at some point because mental illness, especially for boys right now, is off the charts. And it's largely because of the demonization of boys, literally from birth. And then going into schools and getting it thrown at them 24/7 there. I'm not, again, I defend nothing on him. But I have to say, I'm not surprised. Because if he's sitting in that classroom being told he's the problem, you're the whole problem with everything in the world, blah, blah, blah. These boys are growing up never seeing any empathy given to them, and they grow up without the ability to have empathy in return. So then when somebody else gets in their head and says, you need to go commit this crime, they don't have the ability to reason it out and go, yeah, that's probably not a good idea, or that's immoral. They don't have morality because everything they've heard and seen at them says that, or gives them no morality, if you get what I mean, right? We have demonized boys to the point that they don't view themselves as human, so they can't view anyone else as. And we need to have this conversation. I hope this doesn't get lost in all this stuff that's going on, because I have long postulated, and I've had experts when I brought up to them go, oh, I never thought of that. That a lot of the school shootings are directly a result, and the data's backing this up, by the way, of these boys being demonized to the point and othered to the point they don't have the ability to tell right from wrong. We need to have that conversation, but nobody's having that one yet.
Well, I mean, we see it in proof. The proof is in the pudding the other direction. Not only are the boys being demonized so they don't view themselves as human, the girls are being indoctrinated by feminists so that they don't view men as human either,
Exactly.
which is why they're so willing to kill them, or have them suffer and laugh about it. And it's
What are you doing? Oh, there.
my craft room, everyone.
You lost track of your thought, but it's a difficult thing to kind of put into words, right? I know where you're kind of trying to go.
Well, we have a whole a young generation who has been mostly indoctrinated to view anyone who disagrees with them even mildly as subhuman.
Yes.
And we have seen what this kind of line of thinking has wrought throughout history, the Holocaust, slavery throughout history, experiments run on people because they are less than human. Dr. Mangala, I invoked him earlier to someone I was talking to on the internet. And that is the class system with Marxism, which is basically feminism is Marxism, but with gender or sex instead of class. Is it wasn't enough to have just the class. They have now narrowed it so the individual is an individual class, if y'all are tracking, and everybody else is sub or less than. And if you're less than, you deserve to be removed from society. Um, and that's why I will. They're always talking about diversity. I was like, yes, but diversity of thought is the only diversity that truly matters. And
Agreed.
and if you are so weak-willed that you cannot stand to hear a thought outside your own, to maybe entertain it but not necessarily agree or just think about it, well, then you're not nearly the strong woman you think you are. So we're doing it to women, and then we're also demonizing it to men, and the colleges are the ones who are doing it to both sides. And again, I keep circling back around to the reason they took him out and not say Ben Shapiro or someone is because he was more effective. He was talking to the youth. And
I love how they Steve, that was just so wrong, and yet I'm laughing. But to your point, that because you're spot on with this, right? They have taught girls to not see men, boys, fathers as human beings. That is the trigger for why you saw all those videos from women dancing literally on Kirk's grave, right?
and it correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw more women celebrating his death than I saw men.
Oh, by far. I mean, again, I've seen 250-ish videos somewhere in there.
Which
By
is
far, it's women. I mean, it's not even remotely close. But again, it goes to they don't see him as a human being. Now, people are arguing it's political, and that's fair to say, but it is also the gender divide, and I don't want that lost in all of this. The hatred that women are being taught from kindergarten through college towards men, and the hatred of teaching boys to hate themselves is why we're at where we're at. Why violence is so bad. Why schools are getting shot up. All this stuff. And until we're willing to fucking admit that and then address it, nothing is gonna change. And yet we can't even have that conversation because
well,
people get upset.
the next time someone dares say that misogyny kills and misandry doesn't, I'm going to just reply with Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. I
Because
mean, that's
it is
a perfect example of
I
it.
would argue, and I have been arguing this for years, that misandry is actually worse than misogyny right now, because misogyny, when it is found, even if it is with an individual, they are tarred and feathered in the court of public opinion. They are drawn and quartered. They are sought out. They are stomped on, and they are told that they are wrong. Misandry is insidious. It is so normalized they don't even realize that what they're talking about is misandry. That is
I can't tell the difference.
They want to talk about institutional sexism when you have something that is so prevalent, so true, that you don't even realize it is what it is. You don't even realize that it's misandry. That is how it is institutionalized. If institutionalized, misogyny is not institutionalized, because if you are a misogynistic asshole, male or female, you get called out. But if you are a misandrist bitch or asshole, you get celebrated. And no one either like that's not misandry. That's just normal. They treat it like it's a fucking virtue.
Well, that's exactly, and that's the problem, right? And because we got to start winding things down. That I don't want any of this lost in the shuffle. There needs to be important conversations about the political side and all that. I'm not trying to take away anything from that, but they are missing the other side of it, and that's where it's on people like you, Lindsay, me, Curtis, all the rest of us to start bringing these points forward. Going, these boys are suffering. And until we're willing to admit we're doing it to them as a society, because I'll tell you right now, the right is just as guilty in a different way, right? They view boys as disposable. They're not willing to step up and fight for the boys. Oh, go get married. That's what, Megan Kelly, we talked about her earlier. Her whole shtick is that men should pay for dates and go get married and suffer so that women benefit. And Megan Kelly will never admit that, but that's exactly what she preaches, which is why I can't stand her. She, in some ways, is worse than the radical feminists because she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She doesn't care about the boys. And I would argue her own boys because she has sons. But it's both sides. Obviously, one side is a little different than the other, but I blame both sides for all of this. And until we're willing to have this conversation, until people like you and me, Lindsay, get out there and force it, I don't see how anything's going to change.
I think you make excellent points. I think the demonization of boys is paramount to this topic. Like,
yep. How do we get them to Curtis? I'm asking you because you're a politician also, right? And you are in the legislature all the time. And as have been and I know Lindsay has too. I've had these conversations.
I simply, you know what I do? The most effective tools to put them in front of the legislators.
The boys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
the fathers, the boys. I put mothers.
What the hell was that?
This blue someone said men benefit more from marriage than women, and I'm sorry I had to laugh.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, we'll see.
Leave them. Let them be there. Let them.
No, the biggest thing is when I look at the legislature, I go, hey, you know what, legislator? Here's these folks, and here's the thing. I also know which legislators to put them in front of and which ones not to. I know who's got power. I know who's got influence. I know who can be swayed, who can't be. I know who's bought in, who's not. I mean, here's the thing. If I've got female Democrats that are in the Senate, forget it. They have no interest in it. But if I've got female Democrats in the House, you know why? That's a totally different thing, because over there, the issue is they want to actually make a difference and they want to make societal change.
So you see how Blue Sea immediately resorts to hurling insults and quoting statistics. Of course, I've done entire videos proving those statistics.
Well, it's kind of like,
wrong,
but if the statistics are the 1989 Massachusetts Supreme Court,
they live in their little fantasy world.
Right.
I'm not going to address it any further. But this is what we're up against, guys, right? Is people like that who support the killing of other people. Because make no mistake, she supports the killing that happened. She'll deny it. She'll never admit it, but she supports it. She's probably one of the ones that cheered. All right, we got to wrap things up. I'll close on that note. Wasn't that a nice little... should we announce what's going to be happening in November?
Yes, we should.
Do it, Lynn.
Well, you do it, because
we are putting our money where our mouth is, literally. In my case,
literally, because I just paid for the flights.
We are going to be in Washington, D.C. for the midterm elections. We will be going to a press conference and then having a 6-hour live
6 hours live show.
6-hour live and some change live show, interviewing guests about lots of different issues with men and boys. So we are actually doing what we say we should do.
Mark Ludwig is one.
Mark Ludwig is one. They're trying to get. We're working on maybe some politicians too. We'll see. Gilda's another one.
Gilda's another one.
Yep, we've got some big names coming on.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be Wednesday. What's the date on the Wednesday? I forget. Hold on.
Wednesday the 5th.
Wednesday the 5th.
Yeah, Wednesday, November 5th. So we're going to be on from noon till 6 p.m. Part of that will be a press conference talking about men's and boys issues from another organization. We're basically covering this as a news organization, and we hope everybody joins us. You'll have the ability to ask questions. Our wonderful producer will be fielding them and then feeding them to us. Hopefully, we got to figure out the logistics on it. Otherwise, he'll be handing us little 3x5 cards like in the old days.
Throwing them at us like cards.
So,
That's how they used to do it back in the 80s.
I do have 2 little production assistants that are more than excited about this trip.
So it's going to be, we're going to be talking more about it, and once we get all the guests lined up, we'll let you know. But I'm excited about it. I know Lindsay and Curtis are, so stay tuned for that. We've got some other stuff coming with Reforging Families, which we haven't talked about in a while. Go ahead, Curtis. You want to say something?
Yes. Can I tell them?
Go for it.
We are now officially a nonprofit as defined by the IRS. So
we got our government stamp of approval.
That stuff's coming up.
And it's been a slog to get it, too.
Oh my God, yes.
Curtis has done all the work on it.
5 months, 4 months, something like that?
Something like that. But
Yeah,
kudos to Curtis, because he's the one who got it done. I take no credit for any of that. But yeah, so lots of good stuff coming. We'll be talking more about that on the show. We got some other topics we're going to be talking about. Obviously, this one's front of mind for all of us now. There's one thing I will say. When we were doing the show last week, I don't think I'll ever forget that show. We were stunned, obviously. I don't think we handled it well, if I'm being brutally honest.
I went back and watched it, and I was like, there's no way you could have really handled it well.
How? No, exactly.
No.
And that's why I have no shame that we didn't handle it well. I'm just being honest about it, But I think, we're seeing opportunity here, and I'm excited specifically to men's and boys issues for what's to come, because I do think, everybody's talking about this is a turning point. I do think it's also a turning point on men's and boys issues. So hopefully we as a group, collective, make sure that it continues moving forward. So my final thoughts are in. You guys finish it up.
Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.